In 451 AD, the Roman Empire was a corpse that hadn't stopped twitching. For decades, barbarian tribes had been eating away at its edges. The Visigoths had sacked Rome itself in 410. The Vandals had taken North Africa. Britain had been abandoned. But now something worse was coming. Attila the Hun and his army of horsemen had swept across Europe like a plague. They had crushed everything in their path. And now they were marching on Gaul, modern-day France, with 80,000 soldiers behind them. The Roman general Aetius had a choice. He could run. He could hide. Or he could build an alliance of his worst enemies to face the monster. He built the alliance. Aetius was a Roman general who had spent years as a hostage among the Goths and the Huns. He knew how they thought. He knew how they fought. And he knew that the only way to stop Attila was to unite everyone who hated him more than they hated each other. He convinced the Visigoth king Theodoric to join him. He brought in the Burgundians, the Franks, the Alans, everyone who had a reason to fear the Huns. The army they assembled was massive. Modern estimates suggest anywhere from 30,000 to 80,000 men on each side. They met on the Catalaunian Plains in northeastern France on June 20, 451. The battle began with a fight for the high ground. Attila knew that whoever held the hill would control the battlefield. He sent his men up first. But the Romans and their allies were faster. The struggle for the ridge was brutal. Men fought hand to hand. They used whatever they could find: swords, shields, rocks, fists. The hill was taken and retaken multiple times. Then the main battle began. The two armies crashed into each other with a force that shook the ground. A contemporary historian described the fight as fierce, confused, monstrous, unrelenting, a fight whose like no ancient time has ever recorded. The blood was so thick that a brook flowing through the plain was greatly increased by blood from the wounds of the slain. Men who tried to drink from it drank water mingled in gore. One of the most tragic moments of the battle was the death of Theodoric, the Visigoth king. He was thrown from his horse and trampled underfoot by his own men, accidentally killed by his own soldiers. The Visigoths went into a frenzy when they saw their king fall. They fought with insane ferocity, driving the Huns back and nearly killing Attila himself. When night fell, the battlefield was a carpet of corpses. 165,000 men had died on a single day. Attila retreated to his camp and fortified it with wagons. He was cornered. His men were exhausted. His supplies were low. He was ready to die. Attila ordered a funeral pyre built from horse saddles and saddles. He was determined that if the enemy attacked, he would throw himself into the flames, that none might have the joy of wounding him, and that the lord of so many races might not fall into the hands of his foes. But Aetius made a decision that historians are still arguing about today. He didn't finish Attila off. Instead, Aetius advised the Visigoths' new king, Theodoric's son, Thorismund, to go home and secure his throne before his brothers could seize it. Once the Visigoths had withdrawn, Aetius let Attila escape. Why would he do that? Aetius didn't want to completely destroy the Huns. He wanted to keep the Visigoths and Huns fighting each other, so neither could threaten Rome. If the Visigoths had killed Attila, they would have become an even greater threat. Aetius was playing a game of survival. And he was willing to let the monster live to protect his empire. The Battle of the Catalaunian Plains was one of the last major operations of the Western Roman Empire. It checked the Hunnic advance in Europe and prevented the widespread destruction of Gaul. But it didn't save Rome. The empire would fall in 476, just 25 years later. So what did the battle actually accomplish? Some historians say it stopped Attila from conquering the West. Others say it changed nothing. Attila died 2 years later in 453, and his empire collapsed soon after. But here's what everyone agrees on: the battle was a turning point. It marked the moment when the Roman Empire stopped being a military power and started being a memory. After 451, Rome would never again assemble a great army. It would never again defeat an enemy on the battlefield. It would never again be the master of the world. Aetius defeated Attila. But he couldn't save Rome. The empire was already dead. This is Lost Timeline. Subscribe.